Hey, if you want to hear us discuss this same topic in a shorter video, there's a link in the description below. What's up, breathing people? Welcome back to Just Breathing Podcast. Today, I'm joined by my wife, Brittany, and we're talking about, are we dating? And we came to this title because there's a lot of people that are in relationships that don't really know what's happening. They don't really know what the purpose of that relationship is. They might call that person their boyfriend. They might call that person their partner. But in the totality of the relationship, where are they going? And we live in a society where that question is becoming more and more prevalent as dating and as relationships in general get more and more diluted.
Yeah.
And get more and more purposeless. There's just so many people that walk around, even in their friendships, even in their human-to-human connections outside of social media, where there's much less communication about what we're there for and why we're in this relationship and what the benefits are.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that seems weird in like a friendship, you can have a much richer friendship if that's communicated regularly. That like, man, I so appreciate this relationship because it gives me accountability.
Right.
Because it gives me, you're that person that I can go to when I'm in need. You're that person that I go to when I just have something on my chest that I just have to get out.
Right.
And you just listen to me. You're that friend. You're so good at that. And I appreciate that so much about that type of communication doesn't happen more and more, I see, in relationships because I'm in relationships and I don't know what the meaning, the bigger picture of this relationship is.
Yeah.
And I'm talking about friends.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we have more communication about we're in a marriage relationship.
Right.
So we got to figure it out.
Yeah.
Because we're conjoined.
But even in that, there's so many assumptions, I think. In relationships, you have so many assumptions about what the other person is thinking and feeling and what this relationship is that it's never communicated. And so everything gets kind of confusing.
Yeah.
And even like young people nowadays, like in their teens are dating.
Right.
And like, they don't know what they're doing.
Yeah.
They're just like, I like this boy and he likes me and we're dating. And it's not going to mean anything.
Yeah.
In a year or a couple months.
Yeah. And don't get me wrong. I am not opposed to young people dating. They're acting out the purpose that is so ingrained in us as human beings.
Mm-hmm.
To find that spouse and to procreate.
Right.
Have sex and have babies. You know,
But they're not thinking that. Are they? I don't think so.
No, but I think it definitely is ingrained in us as human beings.
Yes.
Like, I think it's just, we don't even understand the impulses that the changes going on in us biologically are pushing us towards, so that this person that I was repulsed by a year ago is all I think about now.
Right.
You know, so there's the biological aspects to it, but then there's also, I guess, what you would call the sociological or even the spiritual aspects from a spiritual aspect, finding that person that I can become one with.
Mm.
And that's why, you know, on this channel and on our Laud and Lungs channel, we promote dating for the purpose of marriage.
Mm-hmm.
Because we feel like there's just really no other viable option that has data backing it to show the success rates of people that are actually intentional about getting married and that becoming a reality, and then people that are intentional about staying married and that becoming a reality. We understand that intentionality, the data is behind intentionality.
Yeah.
A really interesting stat, and this is kind of off the beaten path, but a lot of people talk about the divorce rate in Christian churches.
I have heard that. That's really sad.
Now, yes.
It's higher.
No.
It's not?
You know what's so interesting about that? So it's unfortunately, I believe it's another scare tactic that kind of rises up in Christianity. And we're going to get into that because I think some of the problems that we're having is not just people outside of Christianity that are influencing the way people date and do relationships. Some of it's from the fear and shame that has kind of manifested itself in the Christian church and have instilled that into a lot of young people. And either there's been rejection and so relationships go a different direction, or that fear influences the relationships to be what they're not actually supposed to be. So back to that stat. So the divorce rate is very high in America in general. It's close. It's 40% or something like that. Awful. And a lot of people point to the fact that it does appear in some stats a little higher with Christians.
Yeah, that's what I thought I'd heard.
But what's super interesting about that is that if you dig into the statistics a little deeper, Christians that attend church, are actively involved, and have some sort of spiritual life with their spouse, the divorce rate goes down exponentially.
Oh, interesting.
So
there's levels. That makes sense.
So there's Christians who claim the name, and then there's Christians who are about the lifestyle. And that makes a huge difference in the divorce rates when you actually get into the numbers, when you actually are digging into who in the church, who in Christian communities are getting divorced.
That's interesting.
It's very interesting, right? And it just goes back to my point of if you're intentional in your dating relationship, it'll lead to an intentional outcome, which makes perfect sense, right? Like if you want something and you pursue it, you might get it.
Right.
But if you pursue nothing.
Right.
And this is what I think a lot of people are actually asking when they say, are we dating?
That they're asking what?
That they're asking for meaning.
Yes.
Because I think a lot of them get into relationships but have no intention of where beforehand of where they wanted it to go. They think the relationship is the goal and that somehow things will manifest out of that
and show them what to do next.
But that's the problem.
Yeah.
That person and yourself you don't produce some sort of marriage fruit from just being together for a while. Like that's not a thing. Like it's something that you actually have to cultivate in the relationship for that fruit to be produced.
That's so true.
Yeah. So I think intentionality is what is missing from modern day relationships. Like I said, friendships, dating relationships across the board. Intentionality is a huge missing element.
That's true. So if you go back to that question, are we dating? I guess if you're thinking that or asking yourself that, you kind of have to stop there and be like, well, what are my intentions first?
Yep.
So like maybe you want this to be a dating relationship, or you realize you're in a dating relationship and you're like, oh, that's great. Like you're saying, like I achieved the goal, but now what are your intentions? Like,
yes,
what do you want to happen out of this dating relationship?
And you know what's interesting about that? So another element to people that are at a point where they have to ask this question. So you're putting it in that other person, you're putting the ball in that other person's court to answer what we're doing.
I never even thought about it that way.
But it's a one-sided intention, whereas if you came into the relationship, not saying in a relationship you can't have this conversation and mutually agree that this is the intention now, but a lot of times people are so they just have no purpose, maybe in life, and maybe that translates into the relationship. So they put on other people, please tell me what I'm supposed to do next.
That happens a lot, I think.
A lot. A lot. I heard recently that the consulting industry is like a $1 trillion industry right now.
Wow.
Because so many people are asking, what are we doing right now?
Yeah.
What am I doing right now? are we dating? You know,
Mhm.
that kind of purposelessness just across the board in
Right.
life is just has dug its claws into so many aspects of our life,
Mhm.
and the only thing that can dig us out of that is finding purpose.
Yeah.
Even if you don't understand some of those purposes. What I like to do in life is in every area that I want to improve, I want to find somebody that has found purpose in those areas,
Mhm.
and I blindly, and I think this is an aspect of faith because it takes courage. I think courage and faith are almost synonymous in many cases in the Bible. Um, it takes courage to blindly adhere to someone else's purpose when you have none.
Yeah.
And let's
Yeah.
say in marriage, like I'm struggling to kind of find my purpose on how to move forward in our marriage. I'm
Mhm.
going to find somebody that is like on fire in their marriage.
Right.
And this is what they do on a regular basis. They do date nights and they whatever.
Mhm. Mhm.
And I'm going to just blindly follow that person's purpose and just make it a part of my life. That's my purpose now.
Right. Right.
And it'll form into your own purpose.
Right.
But for the time being, I'm going to adhere to what this person does until it's
Right.
ingrained into my life.
But that still means you have, like, a goal in mind.
Yeah.
Like, you're still having a desire for a certain outcome.
But I think there's difference between purpose and goals.
That's true.
So I think like
So that's what
we
I'm
can
s
have a goal that's okay, I want to know what dating is,
Right.
or I want to know what the I want to get to purpose in this relationship that I'm in. I want to
Yeah.
figure out whatever that is. I just want to know the purpose of it. That's a goal. And
Yes.
so from that goal, you can cling on to something like we're offering today, which is dating, if that's what you want in that relationship, is for the purpose of marriage.
Yes.
Now, if that scares you, not something that you should be doing right
Yeah.
now. And I think you said it before, um, but there really isn't a purpose to dating outside of marriage.
Yeah.
It's a very confusing, it's a very touch and go. When does this end? When does this start? When does like it just
Mhm.
what are we actually doing? I think will just be a question that remains throughout the entire life of that relationship, however
Yes.
long it is. I don't care if you're together for the rest of your life. You'll always have that question like, what is this? Unless there's that intention
Yes.
of marriage. That's our opinion.
Yeah.
So if that's something with, if that answers a question for somebody on trying to find the purpose of their dating relationships, take on that purpose and see if it makes sense in your life,
Right. Yeah.
you know? Um, I don't know what just from you what you've seen, what what types of relationships do people usually find themselves in? Like what types of relationships have you seen people sort of in when they're not dating for marriage?
Mm. From what I've noticed, it seems that if people aren't dating for marriage, it's dating for sex.
Yeah. That's a really simple way to put it. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, because you're looking for intimacy, and so
Right.
you want more than just sex, but really that's what it leads to, and that's what it stays, and it
Yeah.
can't go much further. It can't go further than that.
Right.
I mean, you can get closer to that person as a friend, but the commitment level is minimum because you're not married. So,
Yeah.
there's nothing holding you to that person. You
Right.
can leave whenever you want.
Right.
I mean, you'll hurt that person, but
Yeah.
you can leave. And so
I think another interesting stat is, and I just learned this recently, that the divorce rate is much higher among people that live together before getting married. So usually when you're living together, you're already in an intimate relationship. I know some Christians that have lived
Mhm.
together and they're like, we're not sleeping together. I'm like, bull crap. Bull crap, man.
There's no way.
There is no way that I would have moved in with you.
And we
No, not happening.
You sleep over there, I'll sleep over
Yeah,
here
heck
every night.
no. Heck no. That would never happen.
Oh my goodness.
That would never happen. Yeah. I love when I hear that though. I have heard that from multiple Christians that live together. And a lot of people listening to this might be like, what's wrong with living together? I'm living together.
Yeah.
So all I'm saying is the data, and you can look this up, shows that people that live together and then get married later, which is great. I'm all for it. And you definitely can be the exception. You can be the other percentage that stays together for the rest of your life, but that's going to require intentionality and purpose in your marriage to stay married. But a lot of people that enter into we live together, we're intimate before marriage relationship that didn't really have a lot of purpose or intentionality behind it, or you would have gotten married, carry that into their marriage relationship. So you're still, now you have the title, but that same intention that you had in your living together relationship is now in your married relationship. And unfortunately, the divorce rate is so much higher.
Yeah, it comes down to not, like you're saying, having a lack of intentionality and a lack of honesty. Because when you're in that kind of relationship and you're not married, and then you get married, there's like a presumption that like certain things will get better or certain things will change or whatever your ideal was of marriage. You're like, now I have it.
Yeah.
But it's the same. Like you didn't do any work to get to that point. Whereas, and this isn't true for all marriages, but when you're dating for marriage and you're abstaining from sex before marriage, you're making a commitment to that person. No, supposed to be, no matter what, right? So you're saying, I accept you even though I haven't fully known you yet. Whereas when you're just in an intimate relationship, you're not married, you're like, I know, and maybe for years, like I know you so well,
There's no mystery.
We're intimate, whatever. And we just want, it's really just like we want the title. And if you think something's magically gonna change, it's not.
Yeah.
And so that would be discouraging. That would be discouraging. You would be like, isn't it supposed to like be like wonderful now? Like we're married.
Yeah.
But no, like it takes intentionality and honesty.
Yeah.
And going back to the dating, if you're the one kind of being like, are we dating? Yeah, I love that. Being like, what are my intentions?
Yeah.
What do I want from this? How cool would that be for you to not ask the other person, but to come and be like, I noticed that we're like hang out all the time. I would love to see this go here. Like, state your intentions with that person and throw out the word dating if you want, but state your intentions for that relationship.
Yeah.
And see what that person says. On the car ride here, I was thinking of, I don't know what brought this to my mind, but I was thinking of how so many times it's easy to just not communicate and like just keep silent because you feel like you're keeping the peace. But like, when it comes to dating, like you're not keeping the peace. No. The conflict is there. You just haven't opened the box yet.
Yeah.
Like you need to open the box. Like you need to ask that question. You need to state that statement. You need to state your intention.
Yeah.
Because just because you don't talk about it doesn't mean like it's going to be okay. No, it's not going to be okay.
Yes.
Like that person might think differently or disagree with you.
Yeah.
And you need to find that out now before you do get married or before whatever it is that you intend to do. You want to be honest with that person and find out what they think.
Yeah.
And
the same thing that people enter into relationships with or lack thereof, where they think the relationship will produce something. from itself. Like it's, what is that, amorphic or something, where
Yeah.
it just like spurns,
Yeah.
something from nothing.
Mhm.
I think they think that same thing about marriage, like you're saying. And I think usually if they thought that about the relationship, usually if nothing came out of it, they're like, well, marriage will come out of it.
Yeah.
And marriage is, maybe the relationship wasn't actually what I wanted. Maybe I really wanted marriage.
Oh, yeah, that's
which you do. But the problem is, if it wasn't the intention from the
Yeah.
beginning, now you've put the same kind of
If you think marriage is gonna fix your relationship, no.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Yeah.
go ahead.
No.
That's not true.
I think there's something here where in that kind of zero intention relationship, you kind of you place like mystery on it.
Mm.
Where you're like, it's this mysterious thing that I enter into and something blooms from the mystery. And we place that same thing on marriage. It's this beautiful day where I'm decked out and it's awesome and family love me and
happily ever
friends
after is
celebrate
supposed to
me.
happen afterwards.
Yeah. And so there's a lot of mystery and there's a lot of something's going to be birthed out of that. What's so cool about an intentional relationship that's for the purpose of marriage that also withholds sex till marriage is that there is mystery there.
Mm.
But that mystery is the goal. At the end, after marriage is achieved, so in that time in between, in that time leading up to it, you have to do all of this work on communication, on everything that you can do without having sex.
Yeah.
You got plenty of time, so you can do all of these other things and focus on all these other things. So they're worked out before marriage. And now you're just in total, now you actually have a happily ever after.
Yeah.
After marriage.
Right.
With all its connotations, And
I think one of the beautiful things is as well is that sex and marriage is not everything. So,
you already set the precedent for how you will approach those other things before marriage.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You already were working on the groundwork, laying the foundations for how you're going to work on those other things outside of sex.
Right. Because marriage is a work in progress. So, yeah, going back to like are we dating? Like all of that is a part of the process, like figuring out how you're going to communicate with this person, figuring out how do we work through issues with this person, figuring out, everything. There's so much to figure out when you're dating. And so, yeah, if you find yourself asking that question, are we dating? You for yourself have to figure out first, what are your intentions and what are your desires?
Yeah. Yeah.
What are your goals? Yeah.
Yeah. And like it with a lot of things in life, I read that one book, Atomic Habits, and it really shifted my vantage point or my opinion of goals. And I don't hate goals. Like I don't see I don't see that they're completely useless, but I have shifted away from them towards systems.
Explain that because people aren't going to understand what you mean.
So goals have an end date in mind, or at least they have an achievement in mind. Whereas a system is just something that you set up that's indefinite until you turn it off. So a goal has something that once you reach it, you have a decision now to make. Do I set a new goal or is it done now?
Yeah.
And that's why I just worry about the word goals, especially when associated to dating,
Mm,
relationships, marriage, all of these things, because the whole purpose of any relationship, if it's healthy, is that it will never end.
right.
Do
So there's no
relationship
end
right,
date.
right.
That's a good point. I
Do
didn't think about
relationships
that.
end? Does dating end? Does marriage end? Yes, that happens sometimes.
Right.
But should that be our
The
intention?
intention is
No.
not that. Yeah.
No. So I always find it better to set up systems that allow you to continue in whatever work you set up that system to help you with,
Right.
to whatever goals you wanted to achieve from this system.
Right.
Um,
So how does that translate then, like, into the dating scene? So
yeah.
I like your word purpose because that kind of like includes intentions and systems all in that word.
Mhm.
But like, so let's say somebody does have the purpose of, I'm like thinking of my own purposes, right?
Yeah.
So to get married, have like a lifelong friendship,
Yeah.
like a strong marriage to just live life together, have kids, raise them well, right? Like, but going back again, what would you say to somebody who is dating or wondering if they're in a dating relationship, but they do want to get married? Like, what should their purpose be? Like, how does that atomic habits and systems like work into dating for the purpose of marriage
Yeah.
and onward, right? Because it doesn't end at marriage.
Sure. Sure. I think bringing something like that, and this could be a whole nother podcast to kind of really, what do you call it? Unpack. That's like the popular word. Unpack all of these
Yeah.
things. And, but a lot of that is setting systems in place and intentionality and purpose for you as an individual. And those things can influence who you are and become and stay for the person you're in a relationship with.
Ooh, you have to explain that a little bit.
So basically, if you're in a relationship, there's two parties involved. And if one party is doing more work than the other, and I'm not talking about like taking out the trash, I mean like personal work.
Mhm.
Like they're trying to get healthy in every aspect of their life so that they are a better partner to that person that they're in a relationship
Yeah.
with. Um, again, this is every aspect of your life. You want to be a better spouse, you want to be a better family member, if you want to be a better friend, if you want to be a
Mhm.
better sibling, the work that you do on yourself, the habits that you create from the systems that you put in place that have a purpose behind them
Mhm.
are going to influence the health of all of those relationships.
Yeah.
So if you're
That's
working
good.
on yourself emotionally because you know that you have trauma, you know that you have baggage, you know that you have anger issues, whatever it is, the work that you do on that part of your life is going to influence your dating relationships
Yeah.
and what you bring to the table in that dating relationship.
Yeah.
And that's every area of your life physically. I I see a lot of unfortunately, I see a lot of people that get married and let themselves go
Mhm.
physically.
I've seen that.
That is a result of purposelessness in who they are going to be for their partner, for their spouse,
And for themselves.
for themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But now that you're in a marriage, you do have a responsibility to that other person, not just to yourself.
Yeah.
Like one thing that I really think about when I work out or eat right, or I think about what you're gonna think of me. I don't really have I'm out of the game.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
really have intentions to be seen by other people because of how I look physically
Right.
or whatever it is.
Mhm.
but I care about what you think of me.
Mm.
And I care about how you look. I care about how you keep up with yourself and your health,
Right.
you know? Um, our camera just went out. Um,
Down to 2.
we're down to 2. They're dropping like flies.
I feel like this is a therapy session. This is good.
Yeah. No, it's something where there should be purpose to your development for the other person. And that's a person that you could not even be in relationship with yet.
Mhm.
But you're already thinking, like, why should I even take care of myself? Nobody wants me. I'm not lovable. I'm not, dude. And you're not going to be with that
Right.
attitude.
Right.
Or you could love yourself by taking care of yourself in every
Yeah.
aspect of your life, mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually,
Right.
so that you can be the best version of who you are for that other person.
Right.
Bringing that to the table along with a clear, honestly, I think if you have intentionality for yourself, that will translate into every other part of your life. Like, you won't be able to go to the grocery store without intentionality
Yeah.
because you're like, oh, I take care of myself in my diet. So when I go to that grocery store, I'm looking for this, this, and this, and I'm
Mhm.
trying to get the best prices because I'm also thinking about my finances because I want to be the best version of myself financially. And then I'm going to think about, oh, that guy wants to
Right.
date me. Oh, I'm going to be so intentional with from the jump. I'm going to be like, hey, what's the purpose of this? Where are we going? What are
Yeah.
we doing? Because I'm so darn intentional with myself.
Right. How does somebody get there though if they're not?
Small. Incremental change is the best way to make change in your life.
Yeah.
It does not. I think that's another trap. And I'm glad that you brought that up because I think most people don't think small. They think big and then they get disappointed when change hasn't happened tomorrow
That's how I am.
or tonight.
I'm like
You know?
all or nothing.
Well, and
So I like that. Like just small changes. One step at a time.
I think there needs to be big shifts and small changes. And what I mean by that is there needs to be big mental shifts
Mhm.
and small changes because you only can actually change so fast.
Yeah.
Mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually. But you can shift your mind and your mindset, like what you intend to do
Right.
very quickly in an instant.
Yeah.
Like once you actually make a decision that I will be healthier physically, you now can make small changes
Right.
and say, I'm going to eat healthier.
Right.
I'm going
I'm gonna
to
eat eggs today instead of that Krispy Kreme donut. Right. Small change.
You can make small changes. I love the Atomic Habits book because it goes all the way down to like, hey, you want to start running? You want to start walking? You know, you go even
Mhm.
easier. I like walking better. Um, get up at the time that you would like to run before work
Mhm.
and do that for like a month. Don't run.
Yeah.
Just get up at the time you would like to run and say, did that.
I can
Boom.
get up earlier.
I can get up in the time that I need to run before work.
Right.
Small habit completed.
Yeah.
Now get your running shoes on. Do that for a month.
Right.
And this sounds crazy and you're like, but it's going to take me my entire life to achieve.
Yeah.
No.
But can I just say something on the other side of that? Like, how many of us, me included, have been like, I'm going to do this. And then you get up and you do it one day and then never again.
Yeah.
Or you like get up and you do it one day and then maybe like 3 days later you do it and then you just don't anymore because it's like such a big change that it's hard to like keep in place.
Yeah.
So I love that. I love that.
And there definitely is, like with every person, there are people that can just make those changes tomorrow.
Yeah.
And kind of make that decision like, you know what? Screw this way that I'm living right now. I hate myself.
Right.
I'm going to make a change so that I think better of myself.
Right.
Because I'm a slob and I don't want to be a slob. I'm
Yeah.
a sloth. I don't want to be a sloth. I'm a
right.
fill in the
Whatever it
blank
is.
and I don't want to do that anymore.
Mhm.
You can make huge changes tomorrow.
Right.
But I have found that for myself personally, it's the small changes.
Mhm.
It's the one thing for a while, include the next. And I've done that in so many different areas of my life. I've done that, in terms of fitness, in
Mhm.
terms of working out. It was push-up challenges on YouTube for a long time.
Yeah. I
And
remember that.
then and then I was like, "Okay, I'm seeing results."
Mhm.
And then it was, moving into some weighted workouts and I'm like, "I'm seeing a little more results."
Yeah.
Cool. And it just sort of built off of there. Health-wise, I used to drink Mountain Dew every day. And then I made a change where I tried some other drinks to sort of substitute
Right.
for my soda addiction.
Which is I love that. Like substituting, not just being like, I'm done with that. Like
Yes.
it helps you. I feel like it helps you keep the healthier habit to like substitute something. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
No. And
I just think
I
that's
don't want to get
important.
stuck on this too long because we could get on the health and fitness train for
We could.
a while.
We could talk
But
for a long time.
the main point that we're making is intentionality, having that backing behind the question, are we dating,
Mhm.
is so important. I love what you said. Know what your intentions are when you ask the question,
Yeah.
are we dating? That way you're not depending, like I said, on the other person to answer for you.
And tell you what you're gonna do next.
Because unfortunately, one, that person could have terrible intentions for this relationship, and now you kind of feel stuck. Like, well,
actually, you would feel not stuck if you have your intentions.
No, but
right?
I'm saying if you didn't.
Oh, gotcha.
I'm saying if you didn't and you put that on the other person and they told you their intentions and they were very clear,
Yeah.
And you could be like, crap, that's not what I wanted.
That's true.
But that's what they wanted. So now I'm stuck in that mode because I wasn't ready to come back and say, well, this is what I was thinking. And a problem that could arise from that is resentment.
Yeah.
You could resent the relationship that you agreed to.
Yes.
Because you weren't intentional.
Right.
That's another problem that happens in so many aspects of our lives. If we don't have intention, those at any aspect of our lives that we don't have intention behind will be dominated by something else.
That's true.
People that are dominated with their weight.
Mm-hmm.
It's because they don't have any intention to be healthy.
Right.
Weight wise.
Mm-hmm. So it's like it would be empowering to have those intentions so you can have that like conversation with that other person if they have different intentions, to be like, actually, like maybe this is not going to work out, or maybe this is right where I need to be because we're both on the same track.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's like empowering.
Yeah.
To know like this is what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Bible says you cannot serve two masters. You will love the one and hate the other, or hate the one and love the other.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I find that to be so true in life. You can't serve two masters.
Yep.
So master your thoughts on what you think and everything. Don't let life dominate your thoughts.
Right.
You get out there, you get ahead of those of life and say, no. This is who I am in all of these areas of life.
Right.
And that's going to really help with that question, are we dating?
Yeah.
Right?
I like that.
Cool. All right. Thank you for listening, watching, subscribing, liking this video, rating us on all the podcast platforms. We love you all. We do these podcasts so that we can help you. If you don't find it helpful, I don't care. I don't really care. But if you do find it helpful, awesome. And we love you either way. And we will see you on the next episode. All right. Goodbye.